Good morning and welcome back to my channel. The golden egg is cracked. I've had another bad morning, a bad day. Yesterday I found my father laying on the floor next to his bed, on his back, and he could not tell me how he got down there or how long he had been down there. He seemed perfectly fine the night before. At 12:30 in the morning, he had finished watching a television show. He was going to bed, and I was getting him up at 7 in the morning to take his medications, drink his water, and get him ready for a visit to have his ears cleaned at the VA facility, big VA hospital here in Louisville, Kentucky. It turned out that same hospital he was going in to have his ears cleaned is the hospital I had to send him to by ambulance the same morning. Go figure. So I got him up off the floor, onto his bed, and then lifted him his legs up onto the bed. He was too weak to stand even after 15 minutes. He couldn't get out of bed and stand on his own. I'm assuming he was, because he didn't keel over, pass out. When my dad passes out, he goes straight back, like rigid straight back, and hits his head on something almost every time, or scrapes his arm up, or some part of his body got bruised or scraped. That didn't happen. Didn't hit the side table, didn't knock anything over. So that means to me, no way to know for sure, but is that he was getting out of bed to go to the bathroom to take a pee or something. But when he tried to get out of bed, his legs failed on him, and he went straight down. He was too weak to do anything. Oh. So, I know from long experience but you can't call their doctor and ask them what to do. Can I bring them in for you to look at them? And no, everybody tells you send them to the ER. The days of going to see your doctor on the spur of the moment, those days are gone. Everybody wants you to go to the hospital, go to the ER. So I called an ambulance and they took him to the big VA hospital. I followed him in my car, and we got there about 8:30, and they were right. They jumped right on it. They admitted him. They got it in there and started hooking him up and checking everything, taking blood. They found out his bladder was full, but he didn't. He said he didn't need it to go. Didn't need to urinate, so didn't feel the need, so they put a catheter in to drain him out, drain out his all that urine. They did over the next 6 hours that I was there. They put him on antibiotic drips, did all the blood work and multiple times. They took blood, checked his urine, brought in an X-ray machine to check his lungs. Took him in for a CAT scan. But all the results were coming back fine. Everything was good. There was nothing wrong. He didn't have a UTI, urinary tract infection, which is what I think we all assumed when he couldn't get up out of bed. But that wasn't the case. And so they wanted to keep him overnight for observation and to do other tests to check his heart function, make sure his pacemaker was working as expected. So I finally got out of there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But what they told me, the doctors said, the probability is what caused the weakness and his inability to get up, get off the floor, or why he slid on the floor was because of dehydration. And I thought to myself, well, Dad's been drinking all the fluids I give him, and he's drinking coffee and all this, and he seemed to be drinking enough. But it turns out the probability is he needs some more electrolytes in his diet. um, but really that when older people, elderly people, people with Alzheimer's and dementia get dehydrated, the probability is they stop drinking water after a certain time of day. They don't want to get up in the middle of the night. They don't want to maybe have a bedwetting incident. You think they're drinking enough water. Their bladder's full. And they're at the lower stage of dehydration, or the upper stage. I'm not sure if it's lower or upper, but at the beginning stages. And they can no longer go to the bathroom as much. They don't have enough energy to push it out. They will stop drinking fluids. So, not only do you have to watch them drink, which I do every morning, get my dad up, make him drink a full glass of water with his medication, and then I make sure his glass is refilled during the day and when he's eating and whatever. But what elderly people often do, surprisingly, especially dementia or whatever, they will go pour out the water and pretend that they drank it. They will sip at water a little bit, or pretend to take a sip and not take a sip. Well, they'll pour the water out into a house plant to water the soil, and I tell you, and dehydration, there's no home test kit for that. I have one for UTIs, urinary tract infections, that might help me detect something. But there's really nothing to check it at home for dehydration. So you think everybody's on the same page, drinking enough, having enough fluids. Turns out he's not. So, it slowly begins a process where over a period of days, they're not drinking enough while hiding that from you. And you don't find out until that one bad morning when they're delirious, or they're out in the yard talking to nobody, or they're going off in a delusional state, or they're too weak to stand up. It's on a dime. My dad was fine the night before. Within 6.5 hours, he was on the floor in his bedroom, too weak to stand. So now they've got him in there. They're rehydrating him with an IV. They're going to determine if he's going to be strong enough, or they can get him strong enough to at least be able to use a rolling walker. And if he can do that, he can come home. But if he can't do that, they're going to have to send him to a place, a rehabilitation place, like a nursing home, for a week or two. And that's something I really don't like to even think about. I'm not a big fan of nursing homes because one of my siblings is in one, and they're not. I don't have a bad opinion of a lot of them, but I don't think they do enough for the patients, and they're short-staffed, and it's a national crisis. I don't want my dad getting in someplace where he's not going to be taken care of enough, or he's going to catch COVID again. So we'll have to see. But this, I don't, that's what they're telling me on the phone. But we may have to do this or that. I have social workers call me, said, well, we're going to have to probably put him in a rehab place. Now, he was fine the night before. He was strong enough to walk on his own the night before. So, how does that suddenly become he's got to go for weeks in a rehab while we're working out together? If I've been doing that with my dad for weeks now. 3-4 times a week we work out together. Not a lot, but we work out together. I get him active, so he's got some strength. And he had some stamina. So, if we can get him home, then they'll probably send in-home physical rehabilitation again. They did that before, a year and a half or 2 years ago. And when they set that up, you think, this is the way they're going to come out every week, 3 times a week for the rest of this year or two to do rehab. That's not the case. They come out for a very specific amount of time. They think he's as good as he's going to get, or they're as good as they're going to get. That's when they cut you off, and they don't come anymore. That's all we can do. He's where we need to be. They don't come back and check on him or anything. They have to get so far down health-wise again that they have to be hospitalized for them to be prescribed to come out again. That's what it is. It's a prescription. The doctors have to prescribe it. There has to be a case that it's bad enough that they need to come in and you don't need to go someplace. It's fun. Not. But that's where we are this morning, or at least where I am this morning. They've got my dad. They're going to determine today if he can come home or is strong enough to come home. So either today or tomorrow, that determination is going to be, does he have to go to a rehabilitation facility or can he come home? Depending on his level of strength and his ability to think, which is hard when someone has dementia and or Alzheimer's. At least they're calling me this time because I am his designated medical caregiver, and they have to go through me for his health decisions. That's one of the problems when you don't have the right paperwork, and your loved one gets, or the person you're caregiving for gets sent to a hospital. Without that documentation, they have to defer to the patient, even if the patient isn't all there. It might be there enough, but not enough to make decisions. But if he's not strong enough to walk with a rolling walker, they're not going to be sending him home. And I have to take all this stuff to him, hearing aids, batteries, stuff, change of clothes. And we got to figure out if he's going to be strong enough to be able to come home today or tomorrow, maybe by the weekend. So these bad mornings. hit us family caregivers out of the blue. I'd love to say out of the blue. But out of nowhere, out of the clear blue sky, we think we have it down. We're on a good routine. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. And then you wake up and that the power's off. The cable's off. The internet's off. And your loved one's walking down the street looking for their pet who died 60 years ago. Wonderful days. But anyway, that's my morning to this morning and yesterday morning. So we're gonna have fun this week. Dad and I are gonna have a lot of fun this week, trying to figure out something. I will talk to you all again later. I have a lot to do, a lot of calls to make, and a lot of chores to do. But this is just part of caregiving for your family or not your family. Good days, bad days, good mornings, bad mornings. But at least I didn't run out of coffee. Then it would have been a really bad morning if I had run out of coffee. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you again soon.